à-bas-le-ciel.
At some point in your life, you've probably met someone who had a sane or insane hostility towards police officer, towards authority figures of that kind. You may have met someone who felt that way just because of negative experiences in their lives, or they grew up in a neighborhood where it was considered cool to insist that you'd never cooperate with the cops in any way, not even if it was your own mother being murdered or something. Or you may know people who, for political reasons, for reasons they subscribe to and ascribe, in a theoretical sense, claim that they'll never cooperate with police officers. And if you know enough of these people, sooner or later, you're going to see them in awkward situations where they need help. They need help themselves, and they run to the cops, or they call the cops. And in a sense, it's easier for them if they have a terrible experience. It affirms their expectations or their beliefs if then the police officers treat them awfully, if they have a shabby or denigrating experience. And it's more awkward and peculiar if they're standing there thanking the police for being so helpful, or thanking the police for saving their lives. I have had some situations like that. Not where I was the one caught in this double bind, but where I saw other people's principles being put to the test by such an ironic and incongruous contrast. Well, in this video, we're going to look at somebody briefly who has come on the internet and spread the most vile anti-hospital hysteria imaginable, who spread rumor and innuendo and crazy conspiracy theories to try to convince his audience to never trust hospital authorities, to never trust medical doctors, to never cooperate with them in much the same way. And yet we find that when he has a health emergency, as you're going to see in this tape, he doesn't just run to the medical doctors for help. He doesn't just run to the hospital. He also comes here on YouTube and asks his followers to donate money to pay for his medical expenses. And these are the same followers to whom he has preached again and again and again that hospitals are, in his view, not merely a scam to take your money away, but part of an insane and pernicious conspiracy actually trying to make you sick, profit from that sickness, and then kill you.
What did the doctor say at the hospital? What did the doctor say at the hospital? All the stories about judges and police chiefs being involved in these mass torturings and rapes of people, especially children. There's a lot of head doctors also involved in this, the presidents of the hospitals. So these are the tunnels which are under a lot of cities. That's what's going on, and the organ harvesting is also part of it. This is why this is a connected web of all the people who see themselves as something higher and simply use us. Hi everyone, I'll get right to the point. My girlfriend Luna, she was mugged yesterday. I wouldn't even make a video about it, but her teeth are all chipped in at the top and the bottom because of the kick in the face. We tried all kinds of raw food for healing, even raw eggs. They're pretty much liquid, but she can't eat them because it hurts so much. So now we gotta get a straw and somehow try to feed her some nutrition so she heals in some way. Of course, it's normal to be brought to a place where you will be helped after you have had an accident, except that hospitals are not designed this way anymore. It's not how the system works at this point. It's more so to milk your money as long as possible, to make you stay there, and even afterwards, because they usually make people dependent on some kind of a drug. Everything here is swollen. The nose is swollen. She already had problems with the nose. She had surgeries. This is a follow-up to my video. We want to live, hospitals want the opposite. Once you land there, it may be hard to get out. Most of us don't realize this because we haven't been in this situation, but the nurses and doctors will slowly poison you, drug you, and even make you immobile. And for the most part, they do this unconsciously, but that's how the system was created. It's there to slowly kill you. What did the doctor say at the hospital? What did the doctor say at the hospital?
That I might have to stay 48 hours because there could be an internal bleeding.
But the nurses and doctors will slowly poison you. People who don't understand this will call the authorities. They will bring you to the hospital and they will say that they simply followed orders, and the people who work there will say the same. And that's how you end up in the death trap. They will bring you to the death trap and pump you full of drugs. And because of that, you won't be able to wake up. There's so many people nowadays in comas who shouldn't even be there, especially if they got the right food, which would be raw animal fat. In the 80s, his son had a car accident and was in a coma. He was brain damaged. And that's what the first chapter is mostly about. And it absolutely reminded me of my stay in the intensive care. His father, Arjunas, put raw butter and unheated honey under his tongue while he was in the coma. And that's how essentially he woke up from the coma, even though the doctor said that it's not going to happen. But my experience in the intensive care was similar, because a doctor told me that it's going to take me a year to get back up on my feet, and of course it didn't. It may have taken so long if I listened to them. So it's more of a trap, if anything, if you land there. It's not as if the people there who work there want to hurt you consciously. It's that most of them are not educated when it comes to health. Although there's quite a lot of horror stories of torture, but that's usually from the head nurses and the head doctors who have spent 2 to 3 decades in the business. When we treat them the way we do nowadays, we give them a lot of power and they become power hungry and see themselves as something higher. And they feel like they can do anything and get away with anything. The nurses may even see the doctors sometimes as gods, and usually they do simply follow the commands, the orders, and if you don't, then you will get fired, and people stay ignorant about this on purpose so they do not lose the job, because people are dependent on these jobs, on the income. They're just trying to make a living. So when a nurse injects you with something, it's not as if she wants to hurt you. She's simply ignorant about what she's doing. That's why I liked reading the book, and the way Arjunas treated the doctors is completely different than any of us do nowadays. Because he's so informed about health, he was able to correct them, and doctors do not like that nowadays. It's the same as people who sell you a cake in a shop. It's not as if they want to poison you. They're simply ignorant that they are poisoning you. They are also dependent on the job, so they would probably not even want to learn anything about nutrition. Otherwise their business would collapse. Because most people would not be able to continue with their job at that point anymore. What about heart attacks? Same thing. You will lay there in the bed for a week and they will give you plant-based, low-fat, high-sugar meals, which caused you to be there in the first place. What did the doctor say at the hospital?
That I might have to stay 48 hours because there could be an internal bleeding.
Because you could die?
Yeah, basically.
And you couldn't even remember your phone number
and age, yeah.
We definitely gotta go to a dentist now because she can't eat anything, and you know how expensive dentists are in Europe, and with the nose also. I appreciate all the support I get on Patreon, but that money pretty much pays for my food. That's about it. We both don't have a decent income to pay for any of this, so if anybody could support us in any way, even $5 to $10 on my PayPal, for example, that would really help us. Thank you if you decide to support us.
I am a person with unpopular political beliefs. I have political views that are unpopular within whatever country I happen to be living in, within whatever movement, charity, whatever I'm trying to contribute to, I find again and again that my own beliefs put me in a minority within a minority within a minority. So there's a really strange sense in which I can sympathize with the double bind this guy Sv3rige is in. He's asking for donations from people when his espoused beliefs are so noxious, are so shocking, that nobody would want to donate to support him, or almost nobody. So I put this little quotation on screen here. Yeah, this is out of context, but I'm going to give you the context in half a second. Quote, Sv3rige bro, I've been a fan of your videos for a while, but are you really saying it's okay to murder and eat people? Correct me if I'm wrong. And there you got the one-word answer from Sv3rige. Yes. And, you know, in case you think the context for this is something, I don't know, that would justify this, the video is titled, Serial Killers Are the Real Heroes, Organ Harvesting, and it's very, very clear in that video exactly what his political position is. Now, I've said this a million times on the internet, sympathy is an analytical tool. I think we should have sympathy for others. We should cultivate the habit of sympathizing with others in order to better understand the world around us, even if it's just in order to better understand politics, political reality as it unfolds around us. And to some very limited extent here, I can have sympathy for the devil. That this is a guy who's come out and, you know, propounded all of these insane health claims, insane conspiracy theories. He's fought his one-man mission, his one-man crusade against medical doctors and nurses and hospitals and the establishment. But then one day, his girlfriend gets injured, and suddenly he's desperate for the help that he can get from the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses, the medical establishment. He's desperate for you to donate money to support him going to the hospital, even though his own views, his own political cause, his own sense of purpose and mission makes him impossible to sympathize with, impossible to support, impossible to donate money to. Look, guys, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Here on YouTube, we don't have special effects. We don't have a lot in terms of plot or script or drama. Honesty is the only currency we've got. And from day one on this channel, I was going to keep it real with y'all. I've kept it real with you about all of the absurd contradictions in my life, my personal life, my political life. I've been honest about, you know, my opposition to things like pet ownership, castrating dogs and declawing cats, my opposition to common vices like marijuana. There are people who really don't want to be my friend, don't want to support me because I'm so staunchly against using drugs like marijuana. There are even people who are a bit shocked and alienated by the fact that I'm against, you know, wasting your time watching football, baseball, ice hockey, and yes, y'all, playing video games. You can see some video games in the background of this video. I have a very harsh anti-video game position, but I also have a 5-year-old daughter, and I also have the collection of video games my girlfriend amassed during her childhood that are being warehoused here in this apartment. But I don't waste a lot of time playing video games, let me tell you. All these things have added up to make it very, very difficult or impossible for me to do fundraising, for me to really kind of build a career as an activist in the way I aspired to. I have very, very few options, very bleak chances. If I wanted to do fundraising, for example, to illustrate and publish a children's storybook I wrote. You guys, most of you already know the storybook. If not, I'll give the link in the description to the script. Talking to artists, talking to publishers. There's a parallel universe in which I was just dishonest with my audience, in which I just told people what they wanted to hear, or I toned it down and told people what I thought they wanted to hear at least 50% of the time, in which I pandered and was that little bit dishonest just enough to get that support. And that would be more money and a bigger audience and what have you. So at bottom, I know this is going to seem strange. I utterly despise Sv3rige. I utterly disagree with everything he represents and propounds. And of course, I do sit back in judgment on him in this circumstance. But I still can sympathize with him because despite the fact that his principles are bad and evil and wrong, he's still doing this thing of being a man of principle and telling the audience what they don't want to hear because as crazy as he may be, sincerely, he believes it, and he believes it's in their best interest to know the truth as he tries to share it.
À-bas-le-ciel.